Hello everyone, welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Ray Stonehouse and I'm going to be hosting this week's webinar. Our topic, of course, is a sales approach to increasing Toastmasters Club membership for non-sales people. I see we have several people online. We had one on a phone call that just kind of disappeared there. If you happen to be phoning in, we will be recording this webinar. It'll be available as a YouTube video probably the next day or so. What happens in these particular webinars is I start off the live session, which of course I'm doing right now. I go into a pre-recorded video on the topic of the webinar, and we will be going into that in a moment or so. It's about 32 or 33 minutes long or so. So what we do is we take a look at the video, and the chat line should be open. Just let me know that if it's not. I believe that it is. So if you just make your comments on there. If you have any questions after the pre-recorded video, we will open it up for conversation and discussion of those questions at that given time. As I said, this will be recorded. It's based on a PowerPoint presentation. I wouldn't worry if you're not able to get down all the points that are in the PowerPoint, because they will be available for use after the publication of this webinar. So with that in mind, let's go to our video, and I'll see you in about 30 minutes live. So if you have any questions, just put them into the chat line, as I said. Let's see if I can get my video loaded here. Welcome to a sales approach to increasing Toastmasters membership. I'm Ray Stonehouse, facilitator for this pre-recorded video. By show of hands, how many people are in sales? Did anybody raise their hands? It's a rhetorical question, of course, as this isn't a live session, but it's still a good question. Are you in sales? Give us some thought. I avoided sales for a long time. Years ago, I was convinced to become an Amway salesperson. It was going to make me millions of dollars, as I recall, and I was going to be able to retire in my late 20s. But I had some real challenges with running that business, as I didn't deal with rejection very well. In fact, that fear of rejection has caused me problems throughout my life and other business ventures. My professional career is as a registered nurse. I never considered that I was in sales. I saw it more as being in service. My patients or clients didn't pay me directly. My employer did, nor did I make any sales pitches to them. It was brought to my attention that I was very much working in sales. While no money exchanged hands between me and my patients, I was still selling to them on a daily basis. My products and service that I was selling was my expertise as a registered nurse. Some examples that occurred to me was when I do health and wellness teaching, medication management, and diagnosis education. There may not be an exchange of money, as I said. However, for the sales transaction to work, and for me to be successful in my health promotion strategies, there needs to be a buy-in at their end. They have to believe that there's value in relying on my 40 years of nursing experience, as well as my sage advice based on being considerably more knowledgeable on health-related subjects than they are. In a moment, we're going to look at excerpts from a presentation that I did a few years back. The scenario was that my club, Kelowna Flying Solo Toastmasters, had taken the summer off at the end of June with 20 members, to come back at the beginning of September with only 6 members. As you can see here in the video, one of the first things that we did was engage a couple club coaches to help us grow the club back to charter strength. The purpose of this training session was to show my fellow club members how every member plays a role in helping to attract guests out to a meeting and to grow the club. Feel free to share this webinar with your fellow members or create your own personalized presentation from the content on the slides in the video. Excuse the darkness of the video. It didn't turn out to be the greatest of rooms for shooting video. If you have any questions about the content, please type them into the chat section and we'll address them when this video is over. So enjoy the video.
Now, I was thinking about having a case study to be able to weave into us. We're a group of salespeople here. We got that established. We're going to be selling Toastmasters. I would like to see 25 people in this room. I can't get out there and talk to every single person that's out there. So I have to have a group of champions. I have to have a sales force. And let's face it, we are most of the club that's here. There's a few people that are missing. And for those that aren't aware, Neil and Mary are here for a purpose this evening. They are joining us as club coaches. So they're no longer guests, they are active participants to our club. So they're going to be part of our sales force. And I wanted to give a sales presentation that had actual meaning. So at 20 after 5 this afternoon, I'm thinking, okay, I need some kind of a case study to be able to really make this presentation dynamic. And as Doug was saying, talking about leftovers, well, I had my leftovers all on a plate, and I had them in the microwave, and I was nuking them. And like Judy said, she can multitask. Well, I can multitask too. I was loading up all this paraphernalia that you see to load into the car. And I had it piled up at the front door. And at 20 after 5, the doorbell rings. Now, at the Stonehouse residence, we don't usually answer the doorbell, because it's usually salespeople, so we're not going to answer the door. But because I was standing there all set to go out, I couldn't hide because whoever could see me were looking face to face, so I had to answer the door. I opened up the door, and there's a young fellow, must have been probably about 10 years old. I knew that because I was taller than him. He's much older than that, grade 8. No, grade 8's pretty big nowadays. He would have been taller than me. He had a box in his hand, just like this. This is the box. But he says to me, "Would you like to buy some chocolates?" And I said, "No, thanks. We don't eat chocolates around here." So he went on his way. And I started thinking, that is the exact example of what a sales presentation is. So what did he do? He rang the doorbell. I'm going to knock, but he rang the doorbell, and he asked me, "Would you like to buy some chocolates?" I said no, and he left. So what did he do right and what did he do wrong? What do you see there, Mary?
He asked for the order.
He asked for the order. Okay. Is that good or bad?
That's great.
That's great. Okay. And anything else that you saw that he did? Or just by the example that I've given you? Look me straight in the eyes. Would you like to buy some chocolates? Well, what did he do wrong?
He didn't give you a compelling reason to buy chocolates. Was he raising money?
Exactly. What time did he call, did I tell you?
5:20.
What do people usually do at 5:20?
Eat dinner.
Are you in the mood for a chocolate bar when you're in the middle of supper?
But at 6:30.
That's the point. That's the point where he came up. Okay, bearing in mind that he's probably 10 years old, I don't think he was a young midget or anything like that. So we know that he's a young person. But if this was an exact sales presentation, and he comes to my door, other things that he could have done, he says, "Okay, I can understand perhaps you're having your supper at this point in time. Here's my business card. Maybe in a couple hours you are going to be hungry." He never opened the box of chocolates. People buy for different reasons. One of the reasons they buy is an impulse, or the other end of the continuum is that they've studied it, they researched it, and they know exactly what they want. All I saw was a box that had chocolate bars on the thing. If he had opened it up, maybe I would have bought on impulse. So he missed the sales right there. So one thing that he didn't do is that he didn't qualify me as a customer. There's this idea in marketing and sales that if you ask enough people, sheer numbers, the numbers are there, that you're going to make enough sales. But if I wasn't a qualified customer, I was never a potential customer for him in the first place. Now, some people have this idea about sales, that if you, actually go back to that. Some people have this idea that sales is overpowering the other person. Now, we get people that come to Toastmasters. So why do they come to Toastmasters? I don't mean why because of the need for public speaking, but what brings them in?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Okay, so there's some marketing out there, there's some advertising that's taking place. Okay, what else?
They've seen a positive example from someone.
Okay. So they've heard about it, they're responding to the marketing, and they've come out. So when they come in that door right there, what you have is they're qualified to a certain extent because they have already, as Mark said, they've talked to somebody, they've seen a positive example, they've seen some advertising, maybe they've seen something on it. One of the basic tenets of marketing is that you have to touch your customer at least 7 times before they'll make a purchase from you. Now, touching them doesn't mean going like this. A touch is, like Mark said, a touch would be talking to somebody. Or as Judy gave an example, perhaps seeing it on the web page, or seeing it on a newspaper. That's a touch right there. So when somebody comes in the door, they're already qualified because you know they're here for a purpose. They're not walking in because they're here to buy eggs or anything like that. They're here for a specific purpose. So one of the things that I use is, I said to them, you know, have you heard about Toastmasters? Or what do you know about Toastmasters? This one here is actually an example of, the one I use here is what brings you to Toastmasters. When I talk about, have you heard about Toastmasters? I talk about, as an example, I don't have one of my business cards here, but I've got Raystone House RN DTM on my business card. Now what do you think people are going to ask about when they see that card?
DTM.
Not the RN. That part's easy. They're going to ask me, what does DTM stand for? And what am I going to say to them? Have you ever heard about Toastmasters? That's my calling card there for Toastmasters. Because at the same time that I'm plugging for my business purposes, I'm also plugging for Toastmasters. So opportunities are out there all over the place. It's not just a matter of looking around and saying, okay, that person, no, they're pretty shy, they'd make a good Toastmaster. You have to bring it up in conversation all the time. So they come in the door, they're a qualified person. What I often have when I go back as the president or whatever role I'm taking, I talk to them. Okay, I say to them, you know, what brings you here? Do you need to do some public speaking in your job? Some will say yes, they do. I've got a wedding coming up. I need to do a toast. I've got a big presentation coming up. And odds are, they've probably left it to the very last moment. I ask this question in most cases. This is probably a male way of looking at it, a masculine way of looking at it, because we tend to see the world in the way of what people do for a living. So maybe it's a quick way of putting somebody into a hole or pigeonhole to have an idea of what their background is. So what do you do for a living? If you have a person that is in a cubicle, like a Dilbert-style computer cubicle, odds are in their job they're not going to have a lot of opportunities to get out and speak. I'm not saying that Doug is one of those cubicles, but Doug has told us in the past that as an engineer, you know, his work tends to be on computer, tends to be focused, and the reason he comes out here was to have friends, I guess. get out of the cubicle. But that's a good reason for people to come out here. The question that also helps set the hook, would public speaking skills, effective public speaking skills, would it help you in your job? And I think most people, they may not see the answer to that. But public speaking skills is only one aspect of why people come into Toastmasters. I've talked about it before. What's the main product that we sell here at Toastmasters? 2 products.
Self-confidence.
You give it away. Communication skills. If I had an apple, I'd give her the apple. We sell communication skills and we sell leadership skills. That's the service that we provide. But what we're providing is exactly what Mary had said, and that's that we provide, or we help you develop your self-confidence. What I'm going to give you is a 5-step formula. Now this is a 5-step formula as developed in the Toastmasters manual. If you've been involved with sales or marketing and all, and I'm at the very, I'd say, rudimentary stages of my developing my marketing skills, that there is so much new material out there, different ways to marketing it, that some might say that the Toastmasters way of looking at it is, you know, perhaps a little too simplistic, perhaps for business. But for us, bringing in Toastmaster customers to fill up these seats here, there's a lot of good information in here. The first part of the 5-step formula is to find out the prospect's needs. What are those questions that I asked just a moment ago? What brings you to Toastmasters? What do you do for a living? Will public speaking skills, could they help your position in your job, or in your job? In any business situation, what you're trying to do is you're trying to identify the customer's pain. So, the selling relationship is not a matter of trying to overpower the other person, their objections. I think of one of the sales situations that I did have in the past was with Mark talked about Cub Scouts. When I was a Cub Scout leader, one of the fundraising activities that we had was to sell Christmas trees at Rhoda every year. What do I know about Christmas trees? Nothing. I know how to put them up, but to sell them. So I had to quickly learn, well, this is a blue spruce, this is a Fraser pine or whatever it was, this is a Douglas fir. And try and tell the people exactly what I thought that they wanted to hear. This is a perfect tree, it's 6 foot tall, it'll fill out like this. So I was kind of overpowering the customers for the Christmas tree with everything that I knew about it. And I figured if I gave them enough details, they would have enough details that they were going to buy from me. But I never got to the point in saying, okay, Neil, can I call you Neil? That's your name. Your name thanks is Neil. You're looking for a Christmas tree. How big of a room do you have? What size are you thinking? Well, an 8-foot tree. Oh, the 8-foot trees. Well, I've got you in the wrong section. Let's go over here. Well, here's some 8-foot trees over here. How big do you think it's going to expand? Like these 8-foot trees, the bigger that you get, they're going to expand. Now you're going to have a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of presence underneath. You might want to have a tree that has a lot of stem underneath. And we can solve that problem for you. We can lob off some of those branches. So by talking with Neil that way about talking Christmas trees, I've learned a little bit more about what his needs are. And basically his wife told him, get the best tree that you can get or you're in trouble by the time you get home. So I'm helping him with his pain. I'm trying to solve his problem there. So when you're finding out your prospect's needs, what you're doing is you're getting information. Now we know the five W's and 1 H. 5 W's and 1 H.
What, where, when. What, where, when.
Who, what, when, why, where, and how. Who, what, why, when, where, and how. You're finding out what their needs are. So you're clarifying the problems that they have. Are there any other problems? We're talking Toastmasters. People are coming in here, and we're chatting them up. We're finding out what their needs are. I don't think it's so important to go to. We all have a story of when we had problems in the past, and we had an anxiety attack, and it's fun to talk about that. But I don't think that's the time to talk about it when they come here. When they come in here, we want to show them the positive parts of our program, and we're encouraging them to come in and participate in our program as a guest. We're saying, come on in, just watch how things go on in here. Don't get stressed out. Somebody will stand up and they'll introduce you. And at the end of our meeting, we're going to ask you some comments. You can give us some feedback as you want. But just enjoy yourself. We're not going to put any pressure on you. And you will see that the people that are in the room, they're not getting stressed out. They're working on the program and they're participating. People don't like to buy from strangers. People like to buy from people that they trust, people that they feel comfortable from. So you need to gain the confidence of the person that comes in. That could be a simple matter in a Toastmaster Club of whoever, if we have a person serving as a greeter, or even Sandra as our VP of membership, she could assign it to somebody else, just taking the new guest around and introducing them to all the different members. And that's the one thing that I do remember from the Monday Night Toastmasters Club. Harry Bloomfield, an older gentleman, my very first Toastmaster meeting, took me around and shook 25 people's hand at the Kelowna Toastmasters Club. I think that makes a big deal, a big difference from there. So once again, you gain the confidence from the customer. You gain the confidence from your customer by talking to them, asking those who, what. You don't want to sound like an investigative reporter that you're going to be on the 5th estate or anything like that. You want to show a genuine interest. And it's a matter of, basically in sales, it's letting the customer do most of the talking. You lead probing questions, you lead questions in that direction. If you want to work towards building up a trust. 5-step formula. Step number 3, we're in sales. We are selling something. We are selling a product. If we're in business, we're doing it for a purpose of making some money. This is a drama that sort of sets it up, makes it kind of exciting, doesn't it? It's a 5-part. It's a 5-part formula to follow. D stands for demonstration. You have infomercials. What do? They demonstrate the product. They have happy people using the product that you can't live without it. You go to a fair, people are demonstrating stuff. Used to be the Fuller Brush salesperson, used to come to your door and demonstrate what their products would do. The Avon lady would come in, she would leave free samples, she would demonstrate how the product could make you into, Zsa Zsa Gabor with a little bit of red lipstick and touches of white mascara. Give you a demonstration. But what do? The Toastmasters guests come in here and sit down and watch the meeting. Bring a friend. This is our demonstration. The second one in there is you make recommendations. If you were selling a product, you would be saying, I've got a selection of 5 or 6 different products here, and now that I've had a chance to listen to what your needs are, I think this is your best product here, is this one here. We've got some other ones here, but I think this one's a little overpowered, this one's a little underpowered. And at Toastmasters, we're recommending that they make a commitment to come into a meeting on a regular basis. Now, our program is self-directed, self-paced. And I'd like to be able to say you can get out of it what you put into it, but I know that's not always true with things. Sometimes you get more out of it than you put into it, and sometimes it's the other way around. So I wouldn't use that as a cliche, but I would recommend that come in for a few meetings to test it out before you buy. I don't recommend that somebody drops a check the first meeting that we have, because I've been involved in Toastmasters 15 years, and I've quite often seen that people that are spontaneous, you get caught up in a meeting. You have 15, 20 people here. There's a synergy that goes on in the meeting. People can get caught up on it. They put the check down, then they start to have second thoughts. They haven't given any consideration to how much work is really involved with it. So I recommend you come for a few meetings and check it out. Now, arithmetic. You heard the expression, do the math. The cost of Toastmasters. Okay, we know it's about $125 for a new member to join up. And that takes part of gets the new member kit. We know that our monthly dues are $90. So for us as existing members, $180 a year. Okay, you do the math. $180 a year divided by probably about 46 meetings a year. So it's working out that the 2 hours that you are spending here, and I don't have a calculator here to back it up, but you're paying less than $5 per evening that you're coming here. $5 per evening. $2.50 per hour. Has anybody taken any courses at OUC lately? Any courses? Night school? You think you're going to get it for $2.50 an hour? Don't think so. No, it would be probably works out, of course, to $15 to $20 an hour when you factor in the number of hours. So the investment that a member makes here as a Toastmaster is far surpasses what's available for other education programs out there. M is for measure, and measuring is how do you measure ties into a return on investment. How can you measure the abilities and the skills that you develop here? But sometimes that's not that easy to do because there's a lot of intangible benefits. Mary talked about building self-confidence. If your self-confidence increases and you're open to more opportunities, whether that brings personal satisfaction, whether it brings personal fulfillment, whether it brings income, That's a return on investment. And the return on investment, I've heard it over and over again. You know, maybe your desire is not to go out to be a professional motivational speaker. Some people in Toastmasters, that is their objectives, but it's not everybody's. It may be just a matter of feeling comfortable, you know, saying grace at Mark's family for the first time. Maybe that takes a lot of nerve to do that, and you know, having your skills here to do that, maybe that's what makes the difference. Assure, A for assure. We've all bought products. We've bought cars, we've bought vehicles, we've bought household goods, we've bought food for our house, we've bought consumer goods. There's a few things that we want. We want to make sure that we have made the right choice. We want to make sure that our product is going to last, and it's going to last because it is a good product. And we want to make sure that that product is going to last into the future. So as salespeople, we need to assure our prospects, our customers, that the money that they spend on their membership dues, the time and effort that they put into participating in the club meeting, and as they get more confidence and experience outside of the club meeting, they will definitely get their money's worth. So you have to assure them, because people are coming in. In many cases, these are, well, I think all of us, how many people were super self-confident when they walked into this Toastmasters meeting the first time? Doug. You should be up here doing this, Doug.
Yeah.
Somehow, we'll get back to you on that. Has anybody ever argued with a salesperson? Yeah, but every time a salesperson would come up with something, it's quite often, it comes up with responses. Okay. So we know as a customer that there are certain types of objections that will be raised. One, I have family commitment. How can I show up? I can't show up every week. I have a family commitment. What would be an answer to that one? Do we have a solution to that one?
Not everybody can turn
Yeah, that's right. It's a self-directed, it's a self-paced program. We have people that come every second week. Sometimes some people travel, but you have to, I think the secret to it is to, when you are able to attend a meeting, is to maximize your participation during that meeting that you are able to attend. Do your homework in advance, so when you're at the meeting, you can do a performance or do a presentation, a delivery, take on a role that really challenges you. What people don't realize is that a lot of people think that the Toastmaster meeting only takes place 1.5 hours or 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff and opportunity that goes on outside of the club. You know, Mary and Neil are prime examples of this. They're expanding their Toastmaster skill by coming here and offering to help us get our club growing. And that's part of the advanced leadership program. That's why they're not just here because of my smiling face. Well, they should be. But so if you anticipate all the objections, taking it to sales too, if you anticipate all the objections that your customer has, it's not a matter of trying to convince them that your way is right. It's just a matter of reducing the anxiety related to the objections that they have. Some of the objections may be very valid. I'm flat broke, I have absolutely no money. How can you get over that objection? You can't. You know, there are criteria. You have to be over 18 years old, between 18 and 120. You have to be breathing, and you have to be able to pay the membership dues. It's a pay-as-you-go program. So that may be one objection that you may not be able to get past. So part of the 5-step program is also you're convincing the person to join. You're taking away all the objections that they have to not join. Now, these are qualified people because they at least had some interest. They came out to check out our program in the first place. So these are qualified customers. Some people in sales, there's an expression that says ABC, and different things, different stands for. Does anybody in sales know what ABC stands for?
Always be closing.
Correct. Always be closing. In some ways, though, that's the old way of doing things. The research that I'm finding now is that one thing is our customers are getting more savvy. They know that you're doing a closing. And I have an example of where I really got caught on that once. It's going way back in time. It was 1983. I know exactly when it was. Sandra and I were looking for a car. And I went to a Ford dealer. And I took a small car out. And it was kind of interesting. I took a ride. That's what they try to do. It's a demonstration. Go out and smell the new vehicle, go out for a drive. And I did that. And I came back and I was talking positively about it. But for some reason, there must have been a miscommunication between me and the salesperson. Because he said, I'll be back in a minute. And he came back out and he had a contract all written up. And he presents it to me. He says, okay, it's all set to go. This is what's going to cost you. You just signed on the bottom line. And I just sort of, where in the world did you ever get the idea from our discussion that I was ready to sign on the line? I said this was an interesting vehicle, but I just began my search and I've got a long way to go before I make a decision. And in fact, I did try out about another 5 different models of cars before I made a decision. But this, I'm not sure if the salesperson was so eager to sign me or what the deal was, but there was definitely a miscommunication. So you got an acronym here called CLOSE. So comparison. And now this is from the manual. I don't quite understand this one because I don't agree with it. It's not quite the way you would think it is. When you're selling something, okay, Mark, I'm going to sell you. I've got these series of books right here. Now they come in red covers, they come in green covers, and blue covers. Which one would you like? Red cover, green cover, blue cover. Which one?
We all the same book.
Yeah. It's not rocket science. Pick one.
Blue.
Blue. Okay, what I've asked him to do is I've assumed that he's going to make the sale. I'm going to make the sale, and he's going to make the purchase. So I've given him a small decision to make. So it doesn't really matter. He's made a small decision on that. Another way of the same idea is you lead the person in a series of yes questions. So do you like the book so far? You got a chance to read it? You like the book?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see yourself owning this book?
Yes.
Okay. How about your friends? You have friends who like that book?
Possibly.
Okay, for only $29.95, you can sign right here. I have this book for you. So that's what they call a comparison, and I have some challenges with that because I don't see if I follow them. Loss. Have you ever seen it? You see it on infomercials. Phone now. Operators are standing by. I think it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Let that guy go to bed. Let that guy go to bed. But that's what they say because this offer will not be repeated. And you see it on ads in the internet. Buy now. This is a limited quantity. There will only be so many left. If you don't buy now, you're in danger of losing this wonderful deal that I'm selling to you. So in a Toastmaster function, we know that there's going to be a product. But if they're wasting some time, think of the opportunities that they're losing out on by not working and developing their self-confidence now. So that's how I would apply that to selling Toastmasters. It's going to open doors for you, but if you don't get a start on it, ask them for their opinion. You're in sales is not simply a matter of us doing all the talking. We've asked them the who, what, why, when. We've asked them what their problems are, what their pain is. Ask them what their opinion. What do you think about this product? Because what you're doing as a salesperson is you're removing all barriers for that person from buying. And what's one of the things that we do on our agenda? Right towards the end, right before the closing thought. Guest comments. What are we doing? We're asking our Toastmaster guests their opinion on how they felt that our program went. So it's the same thing in the sales process. And that's part of the closing, because what happens after we ask for their opinion, if the chair is a confident person and is aware of serving as a chair, well, thank you for that opinion. We value your feedback. Why don't you come on back next week and check us out again? We'd really like you to join our club. So you've asked their opinion, and you continue to set that out. You're continuing to close. Now, quite often, one of the best ways to to close the sale is to tell a story. You want to tell a story that you've practiced it, you share a story with them that is personal, and it illustrates the point of why you think they should buy. One of the ones that I give in Toastmasters quite often, I've asked everybody here to put together a Toastamonial. The Toastamonial that I give, there's a young fellow, name's Colt, some people don't know him. He's a Toastmaster from Penticton. When I first met Colt at a meeting, he was probably about 18, 19 years old at the time. He has a speech impediment. He stutters, and you know Colt. So when Colt would stand up, it would take him a couple minutes just to get his name to introduce himself. And he started attending Toastmasters. He started working through the competent CTM manual back then. He achieved his CTM. He still had learning disabilities. He needed the support of his entire club and any of the different roles that he took on. Then he started serving as club officers. He took on some roles, and he had some support. He took on the area governor role for 2 different years. He had the support from the people. Now, he's not going to be a motivational speaker. But when you see this young fellow stand up now, and when you see what he was like in the past, even though he has all these things going against him, a learning disability, a speech impediment, some shyness, this is a guy that's getting up, and to the best of his ability, he's delivering speeches. And I haven't seen him for about a year or so, but I would expect that he's probably completed his advanced silver and working on his advanced gold. So I think that's a motivational talk that, somebody like that has those challenges in life, what's preventing us from getting out there and doing that? And that's the reason why, Judy, you should join Toastmasters. That's the reason you should join. Now our last one in here is as an example. There's a thin line, I think, between telling the story and giving the example. The way I would separate the two is the story sets it up, something personal to share with the customer, the prospect, and the example is where you set the hook and where you show them these are where the benefits of joining Toastmasters are. Any questions? I'm doing all the talking here.
Okay, we're back live here. Now we have about a few people online. What I'm going to do is we'll get into a question and answer period at this time. And I'm going to promote you to presenters, which will allow us to talk. We'll see how that works out. So anybody live? How'd that work out? Lisa, are you connected there yet? Well, while that's happening, if you have any questions, why don't you put them into the chat and we'll see what happens from there. So type your questions into the chat. While we're doing that, one of the comments that came in through the promotion I had on Facebook for this particular event was Patrick from, where's Patrick from? He's from Arbutus Toastmasters. I think they're on the island. He says, on our club business card is the slogan, "Be our guest." Then he comments that people generally respond well to an invitation rather than a sales pitch. And I commented on his comment by saying that I agree with him, and that generally we prefer to be helped making a buying decision rather than somebody selling to us. And I guess my example of the car salesman trying to sell me, that's what happened there. So we have some people that are got their microphones working. Anybody have a question?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Who are you?
Hi, this is Christy. I'm in Joplin, Missouri.
Well, you're the farthest away, certainly for a while. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for your time and effort in putting this together. And we're in the middle of an area membership contest. We have 4, maybe 5 meetings participating in a membership drive right now. And what I really took away from this that I really enjoyed, or that made me really think, was about not asking for the sale on their first meeting and really letting them visit a couple times. And most of the time that is the case, but we have an excellent VP of membership, and he's just really good about really asking for that sale. You know, what is it that would prevent you from joining our meeting tonight, kind of thing. And it usually works really well. But I like giving them that opportunity to really absorb and understand the commitment that they're getting into, because it really is. It really is a commitment, and I really found value in that comment.
Yeah, my club is small right now. We're growing. We really don't have an active VP of membership, so that role tends to fall into the lap of whoever is chairing the meeting. Like, we have 2 people. We have a chairperson for the first half of the meeting, and then a Toastmaster takes over the second half. So when the Toastmaster is ending the meeting, we ask for guest comments. And after we acknowledge the guest comments, one of the things we do is we encourage them to come back. And we encourage them. We kind of make a joke about it. There's other clubs locally. We encourage you to check out other clubs, because each club has its own personality and flavor. We encourage you to check them out and, check out the rest and come back for the best. And that proved itself to work quite well just this past week, where we had a guest 2 weeks ago, said she was going to check out the other ones. She decided not to, and she joined this week. So we're quite happy with that.
Wonderful. That's great. Yeah, I was feverishly taking notes, even though I didn't have to. I know that you recorded that, but that kind of helps me to write things down. And so I got a lot of really good ideas from this that I can take back to my team, to my club, and can really help us, I think.
Well, my suggestion, if you can fit it into your club program, is the PowerPoint will be available. If you're familiar with the D21 website, it'll be posted. There's on the top navigational bar, there's a link to resources, and then there's a link to the D21 YouTube channel. So the show notes, which will be the PowerPoint presentation that were used on that particular presentation, will be there. I suggest, if you can fit it in, that was probably about that was a cut down version that I showed there. It was probably about 40 minutes long. If you could fit it into your club, you could do it over a series of meetings, because I believe the value, as VP of membership, you can't do all the sales yourself. You can't convince everybody. If your club member knows how to get out there and basically talk up Toastmasters, they're like your sales force or your disciples. So I would encourage you to try to do your own presentation, and anybody actually.
Mm-hmm. I do let the whole club know that they are our ambassadors, and really word of mouth more than anything, social media, everything else combined, just word of mouth and a simple invitation to visit the meeting, I think, has worked wonders for us in our area. And so there's really something to say about, just old school, inviting someone person to person.
So what are your demographics? What size of a community are you in?
We have, the city of Joplin is about 50,000 people, but we have surrounding towns that during the work week, there's over 100,000 in the city working and so forth, and then they may commute out maybe 20 minutes or so to some of the smaller towns around the area. We currently have 2, almost 3 meetings in Joplin. We chartered our second meeting in August of last year, and then we are in the middle of chartering our third meeting. So we have a daytime noon meeting, we have a Saturday morning meeting, which is our largest meeting, and then we have a Monday 5:30 p.m. meeting. That is the one that we're trying to charter, and that one is is doing quite well. We're about halfway there. And we've been, I would say 5 or 6 months we've been kind of working on that one, trying to get that one up and running. But the Saturday meeting has really taken off and done very well. And the Monday night meeting has a really good set of sponsors and a really good set of mentors assigned to that meeting. So I think it has a lot of potential to get where it needs to go, and a lot of dual members from the Saturday to the Monday and so forth.
Do you find that with having several or clubs within the community that you're in competition with each other for potential members?
It's funny that you say that, because there was some pushback in starting a second meeting because of the fear of that from some people from that original meeting. Because of the days and times being so different, I think that there really is not a competition as far as the day and time. But I will tell you, as you mentioned earlier, each meeting has its own flavor, has its own personality, and also has its own energy. And we're finding that the meetings that have the best energy, they have the best environment or flavor, so to speak, people are gravitating to that one regardless of the day and time. They're making it work for them because they are getting something out of it and they see value in it.
Yeah, I think that's a synergy idea. You know, the
Yes.
sum's greater than the parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that people would get up early on a Saturday for something like this, but they do. And we take turns bringing breakfast. We have treat masters each week, 2 people that volunteer to bring breakfast, and we feed them and have coffee, and we have a really great meeting. And it's also the environment where people can kind of linger after the meeting because they don't have to go straight to work or they don't have to rush home after work. So that Saturday morning, it's an 8 to 9 o'clock meeting. A lot of times people are not like really filtering out and leaving till close to 9:30 because we have this family atmosphere and people are wanting to stay behind and chat, and we've really gotten to be very good friends with everyone in this meeting. And I'll just leave you with one other comment about this particular meeting, and I don't know if any other meeting does this. I'm sure there is some out there. But one thing that we started with this meeting is we do not charge club dues. We just charge the international dues. And what we do each meeting is something called Happy Bucks to raise money. And if you have something to celebrate, a birthday, an anniversary, whatever the case may be, then you can pay $1 or whatever you can afford and announce it to the group. And that has been an excellent fundraiser for our meeting, and it really brings everybody closer together. We get to learn things about each other that we would not have known otherwise, and it's one of the favorite sections of the meeting. It's that time where everybody's like, yay, it's time for Happy Bucks. And I just found out that I'm going to be a grandmother for the first time. So for several weeks, that was something I announced. And then finding out what the gender was. And so everybody couldn't wait to find out, she's going to find out Saturday what the gender is. So everybody was on my phone, blowing up my phone and my Facebook. Did you find out? Is it a boy or a girl? But we just have this nice family atmosphere, and we get to know each other on a level besides just as Toastmasters. And it really brings that synergy to this particular meeting.
I think the Happy Bucks is an interesting concept. I believe I heard of that from, I attended a Rotary Club meeting in my community many years back, and they didn't call it that, but basically what they were doing.
I am a member of a Rotary, and that is where the idea came from.
Okay, yeah, that's I've recognized it. No, I think it's a great idea. What I like, what you said is the family atmosphere. District 21 is the lower half of British Columbia. Everybody else on the call would know that. And we're composed of roughly about 150 clubs. So we're in cities of Vancouver, which I haven't even guess 2 million people. I have no idea. Victoria, which is relatively large. Some of the smaller communities. So some of the communities have multiple clubs. Kelowna, which I am in, we had about 3 or 4 clubs. Now I think we're up to about 6 or 7. we've expanded quite a bit. So we have basically 3 evening community style clubs. We have a breakfast meeting club. We have 2 more of a business corporate style that meet at noontime every second week, and then we have a college and a university club. So what's happened to us, the original comment that I had made was, is there any competition from other clubs? Now, definitely within Kelowna, our population is probably 110,000, 130,000 with when you take in so-called suburbs, the outlying communities. And we have communities of 35,000 within 30 miles to the north and 30 miles to the south. So it's quite a population and quite a number of Toastmasters clubs. I was recently attending my club officer training, and we were looking at the demographics of my particular club, and I realized that other than myself, everybody in the club was there for the specific purpose that they wanted to improve themselves related to their work. One of our members is an artist. She has to get out there and promote herself. She has to promote her art. If she wants to sell it, she has to speak to the public. Another member is a doula, so she teaches families about the birthing process. Another one is into sales and marketing. So while it's not necessarily a family atmosphere in our club, it definitely does have a business focus. So when it comes to sales, I'm thinking, and I'm going to bring it forward to my club, that's really the type of member that we really need to get out there and recruit. So perhaps while we would encourage, I'm of retirement age. I can't retire till I'm 95, but I'm retirement age officially. I don't use it in my business, but I certainly could. So we would be open to retirement, people of retirement age, and I think that's certainly a market. And we would definitely be open to people, younger people, 18 years old, Gen X, because they're just don't have the ability to communicate and get out there and promote themselves, especially in the business world and the workaday world. But the key for us is that demographic of working people.
Sure.
And I think that it came up also in our club officer. Actually, it came up in where we have pathways coming in another couple of weeks on March 20th, and one of the comments that the Pathways instructor had Pathways instructor talked about was tied in with this developing your sales force, and that is, okay, what I am, just to go off on a tangent, I'm encouraging us to teach our fellow members how to get out there and sell. Well, if they were salespeople in a business, they would have a sales kit. Now, my club has a guest package that we give the guests that gives them an idea what Toastmasters is about and what the meeting is about. But this suggestion was that we go to the next step and we provide all of our members a sales and marketing kit. So that would include brochures that you can get for free or purchase from Toastmasters International, a welcome, an invitation, it could be a business card inviting somebody to come out to a Toastmasters meeting to check it out, whatever you feel that's beneficial. So everybody has one, and everybody has a network of contacts,
Yes,
whenever it comes up. You ever heard of Toastmasters? Well, I just happen to have a kit for you.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. I have graduated to the official folders that you can get on TI, and they're so much nicer than what I was using before, just something that I bought from the store and kind of made my own kits. But I think the value is worth it to buy the Toastmaster kits that are put together. I do put a magazine in there because I collect them from people when they have extras or they've read theirs. I keep extra magazines and put a magazine inside that welcome kit as well. And I think it's very impressive when you are able to hand a welcome kit or a guest kit over to somebody and you have all of that really nice material in there. It makes you proud to show that to them of what caliber Toastmasters is. And
I think so. Yeah, I think that there's something else that I believe I belong to other organizations that are always recruiting members, and I take that exactly what you're saying with that guest kit. I believe that every guest should walk away with something in their hand. And
Absolutely.
as part of your club branding, you need to have your contact information on everything. Because in the video, I talked about from the sales perspective of touching your customers 7 to 11 times. Every time they see your club name and contact number, that's a touch.
Hmm.
So if they see your club on perhaps an online event calendar, that's a touch. If they see you're on a magazine that somebody left it at a left it on purpose at a dentist or doctor's office, that's another touch. And with sales and marketing, it's often these touches are like planting seeds. Sometimes they take time to grow. They take time. You have to nourish them sometimes. That's part of the sales process.
Well, I just had a little light bulb moment there. Our guest kits do not have a lot of our branded information in it. Yes, here's the kit, but where's the meeting, what time, what day? It's not in there as it should be. And that's an easy fix. That's an easy label. That's an easy something to put on all of that material that you're placing in that folder.
Yeah,
So
I just use Avery. They're about a 2-inch 2-inch by 1-inch label, and I use the magazines too. I like that's a great idea. Even if they're 10
and I
years
didn't think
old.
about putting them in dentist's office or doctor's office waiting rooms. That's a great idea. That's a perfect idea.
Because I was getting blood work just yesterday, and I noticed that some of the magazines were from the local library, which was just next door. So they're probably getting rid of their old magazines and just leaving them there. So I think, if I just inadvertently just left one there, it's all part of the sales force or the sales mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. We're getting there. We're a much smaller community than what you have, but from where we were just a year and a half ago, to go from one meeting to almost 3 in the span of a year, I think is really good. I have a what do you call it? A corporate meeting on the horizon.
When you're saying meeting, you're talking about clubs?
A corporate club, yes.
Yeah, club. Okay.
Yes, I have a company here that is interested. There's a lady that actually moved from Seattle out here and had Toastmasters in her business where she worked in Seattle and knew all about it. When we reached out to her to just tell her about it, see if she was familiar, and if she wanted to learn more information, she was already hook, line, and sinker because she knew all about it. And she's the new HR manager for a large trucking company out here. And as soon as she gets in her position, gets settled and all that, that's her next step or one of her next steps is to start a Toastmaster meeting for the business here. We have no corporate clubs in our area. The closest one is an hour and a half from here. It's in my area that I am the director of, but other than that, we don't have any, and there is potential for that. One thing with corporate clubs is having the sponsors and the mentors to support it. That's the tricky thing, is having the warm bodies that know Toastmasters and can help get it off the ground and running. And we do have some commitments with that here with members, so that won't be a problem. It's just getting to that step and making it happen.
Yeah, that's definitely corporate clubs. My understanding, that's where the biggest growth is in worldwide, is in corporate clubs. And I was district governor but a decade ago, and I know for a fact that several years before my term in office that multiple corporate clubs were created. The numbers look great, but when they didn't have the mentors to continue on with them, and quite often corporate clubs have a problem with time of day. If they meet in the daytime, many of the people that are available to sponsor, or to be not a sponsor but a mentor, tend to be retired, or the opposite. They have their own job. They can't make that time frame. So
yeah.
So you're getting a corporate club. So from the sales process, if you're you're selling that the product is not public speaking. You're selling the self-confidence from the corporate. I was very fortunate. Like I said, it was a decade ago that I was district governor, and I went on some sales calls with the international president, Chris Ford, at the time, and it was great. It was, he's Canadian, he's retired brigadier general, so he's kind of a no nonsense type guy. So when he went in, there was no fear, there was no calm, or not, there was no anxiety. This is the way things are. This is what we have to offer. We think this is a good deal. This is how we can support you. This are the benefits that you're going to have. It was an interesting sales meeting, and he did the whole. What do you want to get out of this? What do you see as the advantage? A lot of corporate clubs, people aren't necessarily in sales, but they still have to talk as part of their job. Sure. They still have to get out there. An in-house Toastmaster program, there definitely is an advantage to them. The same as schools, colleges, and universities. They're a hard sell to them in that by the nature, because it's all semesters, students come and go. You really need faculty involved to have the continuity of the program. The problem is that faculty, being professors and instructors, they don't necessarily want to be in a Toastmaster group with their students because they don't want to look like that there's any frailty or or lack of skill,
or improvement, or anything.
Yeah, so there's definitely challenges in selling something like that.
Well,
so I'm mindful. Okay, go ahead.
I have one more question for you. Maybe you can steer me in the right direction, because I have the possibility for maybe a gavel club in our area as well, and I don't have anybody in our area that has experience with that. Is there someone or a department at TI that I could reach out to, or who could I go to get more information about starting something like that?
If I was searching for information on that particular, I have no knowledge other than I know what they are and I know how they work. First thing I would check out is Facebook. There's a Toastmasters International group that asks that great place to ask questions. Everybody's got Toastmasters have opinions, so they would be able to direct you quite easily. And there's I don't think there's a LinkedIn discussion group. That's more Toastmasters promoting their material. But you could also ask the question, are you familiar with Quora.com? You ever heard of it?
No.
It's pronounced, it's Quora.com. And you just sign as a member. It's free as a member. And if you have any kind of a question in the world, just put it out there and ask it, and you'll have people respond to it.
Okay, wonderful. I will do that.
That's something I would definitely do, because I'm very active on Quora.
Okay, I will do that. My job, I'm a real estate agent, and I'm very flexible, so I can just schedule around certain events and meetings and so forth, and so that's how I've been able to be as involved as I am. So starting something like that, I'm sure I can fit it in and work around it. I just didn't know where to even start, but I think I have an opportunity for that in our area. So I will definitely do that, and I appreciate that information.
Okay, I'm mindful of the time. I said we stopped at 8:30, and it's roughly about 8:30 right now. So thanks everybody for participating. What's that? Well, we're trying to do them once. I'm not sure how you got a hold of it in the first place. You're a different part of the world.
I actually saw you post something on Rob Christensen's Facebook, and then I went to your Facebook page.
Okay.
And saw that the event, and that's kind of how I found it.
It's a small world. It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
Check out the website is D21 Toastmasters.org. That's our District 21 website. And in the navigational bar, there's a link to resources, and then there's a D21 Toastmasters channel where there's some 70 videos posted. A lot of them are tutorials, and I'm also encouraging members to submit their videos. This recording will be processed tomorrow and probably posted to YouTube tomorrow. So the webinars are every Wednesday. We're focusing on membership building activities. We haven't got one scheduled. We haven't got a topic picked for next week. The week after that, I believe it's on the subject of open houses versus inviting guests, inviting friends. That'll be a discussion. So that one will be 2 weeks from there. So with that, I'd like to once again thank everybody for participating, and I'm going to close this recording down. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.